A developing story on the campus of Columbia University. A student connected to pro-Palestinian protests last year has been detained by ICE. This comes on the heels of President Trump announcing the university will be stripped of federal funds.
Political speech or speaking out should never be the basis of punishment or lead to deportation. And what's more, Mr. Khalil, like every other green card holder, has a right to due process of law.
Free Mahmoud Khalil, no!
They yelled Mahmoud Khalil's name outside of Columbia University, a fellow pro-Palestinian protester now in ICE custody.
Free Mahmoud Khalil, free Mahmoud Khalil, free Mahmoud Khalil. Not. Are you out of your damn mind? I mean, this is ridiculous. Who is this guy? Mahmoud Khalil was born in a Syrian refugee camp in 95 and is a citizen of Algeria. He completed his undergraduate studies in Beirut before enrolling at Columbia University's SIPA, where he earned his master's degree in December 2024. It doesn't make any sense. I don't get it. I don't. You get such an amazing opportunity where you can proceed in helping this country become much better. And this is what you do. Protesting for another country. It's pathetic. And sure, you can get into it's freedom of speech debate. I think freedom of speech should only be for American citizens. That's my opinion. We can disagree if you want to, that's fine. But it doesn't add up for me. You know, if you want to go ahead and fight for Palestine, then go to Palestine with your group. Go and do it. I don't care. Just go ahead. No one's stopping you. And if you want to fight Israel, go do the same thing. But you know, the left is going to say, no, we don't support Hamas. We only support the people of Palestine. Well, then go to Palestine and fight Hamas yourself. We know it's a bunch of nonsense. But yeah, so the left is making this guy as a victim, right? And President Trump is evil once again. But his group allegedly called for the eradication of Western civilization. And we're going to go over some of these reports and react. It's pathetic. The whole thing is just pathetic. Let's get started. Let's just go. Let's do it. All right, so let's get started and react to some of these reports. This is Democracy Now!, left-leaning report here. I call it anti-American Democracy Now! But let's see what's going on here.
In Chicago. Hi, Juan.
Hi, Amy, and welcome to all of our listeners and viewers across the country and around the world.
A federal judge has blocked the deportation of Mahmoud Khalil, the recent Columbia University graduate who was arrested over the weekend by immigration agents for helping organize campus solidarity protests with Gaza last year.
Solidarity protests. That's it. Nothing more.
Khalil is a permanent legal resident. He has a green card. His wife is a U.S. citizen who's 8 months pregnant. Khalil was arrested Saturday at his university-owned apartment. He's now being held in a federal jail for immigrants in Louisiana. President Trump boasted of Khalil's arrest, posting on social media, quote, "This is the first arrest of many to come," unquote. On Monday, faculty at Columbia University and Barnard College held an emergency press conference where they were joined by rabbis and immigrant rights advocates. This is Nadia Abu El-Haj, co-director of the Center for Palestine Studies at Columbia.
Mahmoud Khalil has been a public face of the student movement.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Last spring. During the encampment, he served as the lead negotiator with the Columbia administration.
Lead negotiator for what? What are you negotiating for? Think of it. What is Columbia University going to do about the situation in Gaza? Unreal.
A mature and gentle human being and a political...
Well, they won't tell you, but we're going to go over in a little bit what they were doing, actually.
Mahmoud tried his best to bring a peaceful end to that encampment.
Okay, so peaceful end to the protest.
In the same spirit, Mahmoud tried to negotiate a resolution between students and the Barnard administration last week during a sit-in at Milstein Hall.
Yinon Cohen is a professor of Israel and Jewish studies at Columbia University.
Rescinding visas, canceling green card, and intimidating students and staff have become the tool of choice for stifling free speech and undermining the First Amendment. Columbia University includes Christians, Muslims, Jews, Hindus, Sikhs, and athletes, and none of us will be safe.
None of us will be safe. So then those protests and those things they did on campus was just freedom of speech, huh? All right. Well, let's just continue watching this nonsense, and then we'll go over some of the allegations.
Unless we're all safe.
Over 1,000 protesters also gathered at Federal Plaza in New York Monday to demand Mahmoud Khalil's release. These are some of the voices from the protest.
Hands off Mahmoud!
Look at all of those Palestinian flags. Look at that. Americans, you guys are being conquered in your own land. Look at that. It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
For the Palestinian people over the past 18 months, they have been calling them pro-Hamas. They have been saying they are anti-Semitic. They have been trying to demonize the students in the face of the American public. They said to Israeli media that they intend on putting these students in jail not for 24 hours, but for years. The Columbia administration has been cracking down on the students without even provocation from the federal government. I mean, they only lasted one day before they brought the NYPD onto campus to suppress the encampment. Columbia has absolutely been part and parcel of this crackdown on the students.
My name is Murad Awauda.
Sure, they're not pro-Hamas, but they're covering their faces in some cases and being violent. It's not pro-Hamas at all. And some have celebrated what occurred on October 7th, right? And those tragic events. But that's not pro-Hamas at all. No.
Under this fascist regime, simply to deliver on a publicity stunt of a campaign called mass deportation. The message that they are trying to send, which is a deplorable one, is that no one is protected.
Fascist regime. Wow. So how come he's free? Talking trash. That wouldn't go well in China. Or Russia, right? Maybe even in Palestine. I don't think he would be able to speak that way.
Our communities have to continue to endure under this fascist regime simply to deliver on a publicity stunt.
I'm going to call up now an experienced leader in the immigrant rights movement, Ravi from the New Sanctuary Coalition. They want to terrorize us. They want to intimidate us. This is my home. I was born in Trinidad, but this is my home. This is Khalil's home. This is Mahmoud's home.
Look at all of those flags, guys. Look at that. That does not look like America. Wow. I mean, they have more pride for Palestine than the U.S. And he's saying, this is my home. That's what they want. They want to change America all the way. That's exactly what they're looking for. And playing the victim. Right? They're playing the victim. Unreal.
They want to terrorize us. They want to intimidate us. This is my home. I was born in Trinidad, but this is my home. This is Khalil's home. This is Mahmoud's home. Right? We have been here.
Look at that.
You all are part of that community. We are going to stand up. We are going to fight. We are not going
And
to
how can you blame Americans for becoming anti-immigration? How can you blame them? And these idiots are making all of us look bad. It's infuriating.
My name is Alexa Vilas. I am a council member representing District 38 in South Brooklyn. We are standing here in support of a free Palestine.
Oh no, she's having a bad hair day.
We are standing, demanding the freedom of Khalil.
Demanding.
If they cannot hear us, we must be louder. We must organize. They are coming for all of us. And it is us who will protect each other. ICE and the Trump band of bigots.
Well, if you are coming here under a visa, you're not supposed to be supporting any terrorist organization. That's common sense. It is in your application, by the way. They ask you. But these people don't care. You know, they just are entitled. They come here. They get the great opportunity to study in the U.S. And this is what they do with their time. Instead of making a huge progress for themselves and the country, this is what they're up to. What a future.
ICE and the Trump band of bigots have no place here in New York City.
On Monday, the news outlet Zateo reported Mahmoud Khalil had emailed Colombia's interim president, Katrina Armstrong, one day before ICE detained him to ask her to protect him after he was targeted in a doxing and smear campaign. Khalil wrote, quote, "I haven't been able to sleep, fearing that ICE or a dangerous individual might come to my home.
Oh, I mean, I feel bad, guys. He's such a victim, right? I feel terrible."
Meanwhile, DropSite News reports the ICE agent who detained Khalil was Ilvin Hernandez, who was honored by Trump during his State of the Union address in 2019, was when Trump was first president. We're joined now by two.
Okay, and? What does that mean? What is he trying to say? Demonizing. That's all. All right, so let's go ahead and listen to some of the other allegations from the other side.
It's terrifying. I mean, what you're seeing on TV is a good taste of it, but to see someone in front of you that's covered head to toe, you can see only their eyes. You have no idea what they're going to do next. We can't negotiate with these people. We cannot take a middle approach. There must be a hardline approach. If you violate the rules laid out in the Student Code of Conduct, you shall face the consequences.
Semitic chaos at Columbia University prompting the White House to take action. ICE agents arresting protest leader Mahmoud Khalil. His attorney says the administration is moving to cancel his green card. Maya Sulkin is a Columbia graduate. She is a reporter and assistant editor for the Free Press. And so good to see you in person. His attorney says ICE's arrest and detention of Mahmoud follows the U.S. government's open repression of student activism and political speech, specifically targeting students at Columbia for criticism of Israel's assault on Gaza. Now, that's his attorney. How do you see it?
Thank you so much for having me. Listen, this is someone who has been the engine behind so much of the violence that we have seen on campus since October 7th. And so no one is telling Khalil and students like him that they cannot peacefully protest or even say things that we disagree with, but what is happening is violence, it is harassment, it is trespassing, it is causing thousands of dollars in property damage and sending public safety officers to the hospital. So we are not talking about free speech anymore, we are talking about crimes.
Wow, crimes. I mean, anti-American Democracy Now!, those reporters from that channel didn't say any of this. So what is this person talking about here. Let's watch.
Graduated from Columbia, so you're very familiar with this. There is the head of the Columbia Jewish Alumni Association said every American citizen should be concerned when students are encouraging terrorist activities on U.S. soil. I agree. Was he encouraging terrorist activity? Or was he just protesting Israel?
I mean, listen, in Milbank Hall just a few days ago, and in Milstein Library, 3 days ago, he was handing out flyers from the Hamas media outlet, which is not an exaggeration, literally the Hamas logo on these flyers. Wow. I mean, these are people that call October 7th a glorious day. They are carrying Hamas flags. If that is not espousing terrorist activity, I really do not know it.
Wow, look at that. That's a pretty strong allegation. He was handing out such flyers. I wonder why the mainstream media, the left-leaning mainstream media, it's not discussing that. That's very concerning indeed. Let's see.
I wanted to ask you about this because over the weekend, I think it was Friday, the Trump administration canceled $400 million in federal funds. Here's what John Fetterman, the senator from Pennsylvania, supporter of Israel, said. Colombia let anti-Semitism run amok to cater to lunatic fringe and paid provocateurs. Leadership allowed those a-holes to take over the campus and terrorize Jewish students. Now Colombia pays for its failure, and I support that.
So even the Democratic senator, John Fetterman, agrees with President Trump because he has some common sense.
What did you hear about this? Was it a wake-up call for Colombia that maybe there's a monetary cost to what they're doing?
Listen, I think this is very much a follow-through on the threats they have gotten. I think it for sure came as a surprise, but like the senator said, the federal government has no obligation to pay American tax dollars to an institution that is violating the civil rights of its students, and that is what happened. And in fact, they have an obligation to not pay an institution that is violating the civil rights of its students.
Columbia's got a lot of money. It's got a huge endowment. If the government takes $400 million away from your former school, now being an alum, what's the impact on Columbia, Maya?
Honestly, this is, one, it's a message, and two, as you said, there's an enormous endowment. They have $5 billion in government funding. And so really this is about professors not being able to conduct the research they're able to conduct. It's about not attracting the top talent because the school will no longer be able to provide the kind of funding, the kind of benefits that universities with federal funding can provide.
Did you always want to go there?
I did.
Was it like a dream?
Yeah.
And so what do you think about it now?
I have enormous shame, to be completely honest.
Embarrassing.
Yeah, I fought really hard for the things that Jewish students are fighting for on campus for 4 years. I really empathize. I know people who have left campus for what they've had to face. And so I see this as a long, long overdue wake-up call for the administration.
Well, they've taken action, and we'll see what follows here. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
But she has some common sense. I appreciate that. What is happening to our colleges? This anti-American movement is growing. And in some cases, it's getting stronger, as you can see. And it's being defended by the mainstream media, most of the mainstream media, and the liberals. You'd think that the liberals would say to themselves, well, hey, we lost the election. President Trump won the Electoral College vote and the popular vote. So maybe we should change our ways and try to be more in line with what most Americans want and need. But no, instead, they continue heading into that radical left direction. They couldn't care less. Again, guys, as I told you from the beginning, I don't understand it. I don't get it. Let's watch this other report.
Where is Mahmoud Khalil now?
So you got hundreds of protesters storming lower Manhattan after the ICE arrest of a Palestinian activist at an apartment owned by Columbia University. Now, sources telling the New York Post he was being investigated as a potential national security threat. Alexis McAdams live at Columbia yet again today. What you learning, Alexis? Hello.
Hi, Bill. Well, even though Mahmoud Khalil was being investigated, according to the White House, as a potential threat to our national security, people across New York City chanting and marching overnight, saying he needs to be released. Watch this.
We want justice, you say how? We want justice, you say how? Release Mahmoud Khalil now! Release Mahmoud Khalil now!
So embarrassing for New York City. What a true embarrassment.
Columbia grad student saying he was leading activities that align with Hamas. Khalil's lawyer says the feds told her they were revoking his green card and his student visa. He came from Syria just 2 years ago and is married to a U.S. citizen who says she's pregnant, asking that he be released immediately. Khalil led dozens of protests at the Ivy League school, calling on Columbia to divest from Israel, or said it wasn't going to stop. Just last week, in some video we saw, he was at this protest at Barnard College. Bill, it's the same protest where these pamphlets were handed out, claiming to be from the Hamas media office. Very disturbing, as they call the October 7th attack by Hamas a moral victory. Trump posting, this arrest is the first of many to...
Look at that. Look at the flyer right there. And they're dressing the same way, right? Covering their faces, but Mahmoud is just a nice guy, ladies and gents. He's such a sweetheart, you know? And an American resident.
Come, but Khalil has backing from Congress. Watch this.
Oh no, let me guess. Rashida Tlaib. Of course, it would be her. One of the most anti-American politicians in our country today. Her and the other ones, right? AOC and the other one. They're in this constant competition. Who can be more anti-American this week? What a surprise.
If you believe in constitutional rights, you understand that they're targeting this person, and everyone knows he has been very vocal against the genocide of the Palestinian people in Gaza. And they're targeting him and refusing him constitutional rights. Who's next?
Yeah, she should be next. She should be removed for being such an anti-American traitor. She's in Congress. She should be removed. But the people have to vote her out. So hopefully they do.
Who's next?
Khalil's attorney says he's healthy and his spirits are undaunted as he sits out there in Louisiana at a facility from ICE. A judge has ruled that he cannot be deported yet. They're calling for a hearing tomorrow, and they want Khalil brought back to New York City. So we'll see what happens. Back out here live at Columbia, the protests are expected to continue. The call for action coming from the Students for Justice in Palestine, saying walk out of class and meet them outside. So we'll keep an eye on it.
Walk out of class. Go to your nearest airport, get a damn ticket to Palestine, and fight for them. Liberate them yourselves. That's what you can do. I just gave you a brilliant idea.
Will do. Thanks, Alexis. Nice to see you. Upper West Side. Thanks, Dana.
You wonder what the tuition goes for, right? Well, let's bring in Fox News legal editor Carrie Urban. Here's what President Trump said. He posted this. This is the first of many to come. If you support terrorism, including the slaughtering of innocent men, women, and children, your presence is contrary to our national and foreign policy interests, and you are not welcome here. We expect every one of America's colleges and universities to comply. Thank you! Exclamation point. Carrie, we got a big argument about this on the 5 last night, and I know you've been digging into it. Is it legal?
Yeah, so look, the statute at issue is this one, and it's an alien whose presence or activities in the U.S. and the Secretary of State has reasonable grounds to believe that that presence or activities would have potentially serious adverse foreign policy consequences for the U.S. is deportable. The reason I'm reading that out is because I think there's been a lot of focus on the language of the EO and President Trump's post about providing support for terrorism, which we know there's a statute on the books that details that. That's why the person was in court yesterday in Virginia for Abbey Gate. This is something different. This is something it's more broad, and it's about potential national security risks and threats. Now, there are other reasons as well that someone can be deported. You can be a terror supporter, you can espouse that ideology, you can't be, and you can't commit crimes. Now, I think what's important to note here is that this individual is a lawful permanent resident, and he's been so since 2024. But here's the key, Dana. Someone can be deported between the time they are a lawful permanent resident
Very true.
and when they apply
Very
for
true.
U.S. citizenship. Typically, it's 5 years. Now, if you're married to an American, it's 3 years. And I was talking to a former federal prosecutor this morning. He told me that he deported many lawful permanent residents in his time for actions that made them deportable.
So it goes beyond freedom of speech. If you're paying attention, this is way above freedom of speech. I mean, this guy is flat out allegedly supporting terrorists, and that goes against your visa application and your permanent resident application. I believe citizenship as well. That goes against any of that. So just to make it clear, it is beyond freedom of speech.
Well, as somebody who married a British guy, this is a different scenario, but yes, you have a green card, but the green card is not guaranteeing citizenship, and he and I talked about that last night. So Shai Davidai was a professor at Columbia. He left after all of this, and he said, like Khalil, I too am on a green card. Unlike him, I don't support U.S. designated terrorist organizations, take over university buildings, and call for the genocide of anyone. He wasn't arrested for speaking up. He was arrested for breaking the conditions of his stay here.
I'm glad they shared that statement from another immigrant with common sense.
So the argument we got in last night was about free speech. How should I argue it tonight?
Right. And so he's going to argue I'm being arrested on speech grounds, which is unlawful under the First Amendment, and the government's going to say it's conduct. But even so, because he is not a citizen, it's this, again, serious foreign policy consequences, right? So if he is taking actions that the U.S. government believes is jeopardizing our national security, that's pretty broad. Right. And if you take a look at some of the things that his group has called for, I mean, just last August in an Instagram post that's now been deleted because I looked for it this morning, couldn't find it, but there was a lot of reporting around it at the time. Westerners, we are Westerners fighting for the total eradication of Western civilization. That's a pretty bold statement.
Wow.
How about the fact that the group rescinded an apology for a member who said that Zionists don't deserve to live? Alexis just pointed out how they called October 7th a moral victory. And this group also praised the attack in Tel Aviv that killed 7 people, including the mother who was shielding her baby from death. In addition to the fact that they've obviously broken campus rules and local laws involving, taking over, unlawfully breaking into buildings and the like. And so there's a lot there. So I think the government...
Not to mention, Carrie, remember those workers, including the janitor, who was basically held hostage on the campus last year?
Right. And of course, there are codes of conduct issue on the campuses themselves that they've been violating left and right. And this was something, Dana, I never understood as we watched all of this unfold last year. Why weren't these administrators just simply enforcing the code out of the gate? And this was a very simple thing for them to do, and they weren't for a very long time. So the point in all of this...
Well, because they're a bunch of incompetent morons. But you can tell right there. So, it's completely different when you say, well, I don't like President Trump, I don't like America, that's within freedom of speech. We don't have to like it, but it's freedom of speech. But then when you're calling and supporting terrorist-like actions, then that should have consequences, because should we just wait and see what happens? I mean, per the reports, this guy and his group were promoting terrorist activity. So should we just wait for it to happen? I don't think so. Especially when they are supporting that movement, right? Pro-Palestine, and it goes hand in hand with Hamas. We saw the flyers. The allegations are pretty strong. So it's beyond freedom of speech. I mean, it's pretty clear to me.
Is that there is a lot here for the government to make their case as to why this person is deportable. And as far as this hearing tomorrow, we'll see what this judge thinks about him being detained pending this removal. But I wouldn't look too much into that. I think it's pretty par for the course, retaining the status quo as all of this gets fleshed out.
Got you. Thank you for doing all that research.
Well, it makes sense. We have many people on social media, including YouTube, calling for the Palestine movement and even protest, which they can do it as long as it's in a peaceful manner. Now, we don't agree, and we can criticize that likewise because we also have freedom of speech, right? But when you have a group who then is taking further actions, like the ones they mentioned, then that is very concerning. It's affecting the campus, has affected students. And so, again, should we just wait for it to go further than that? I don't think so. Unreal. Thank you for watching. Please smash the like button, subscribe, and share this video with everyone you know. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you agree that this individual should be deported or not? Let me know why. And a special thank you to those of you who go the extra mile to support this content. I really appreciate you. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time. Free Mahmoud Khalil. Free Mahmoud Khalil. Not.